All right, well, shopping for a smartphone can be an intimidating process, especially if you are trying to choose the right Android phone. Here to break down the newest handsets is our tech expert, Nika Allen. So, what are the top 3 new handsets on the market that we should be looking at?
So we're going to talk about the Samsung Galaxy X S7, HTC 10, and LG G5.
Okay.
Those are pretty new on the market. They're very hot. And so people are really wondering, which one's better?
Which one is
should
better?
I buy?
So now I have thought before about switching from the iPhone to, an Android device.
Yep.
And it seems to be, we're going to start with the Samsung. It seems to be that if you're coming from an iPhone to an Android, is Samsung a good sort of bridge? Because they seem fairly similar. Or are they totally different? Is that just
I
me?
mean, they're different because the operating system is
Sure.
so different, and the operating system is very similar on all three. They are Android. It does just naturally function different. But, Samsung, the Galaxy S7, it's very similar to its predecessor, the Galaxy S6, except for the S7 is waterproof, which is pretty darn cool. And supposedly, it can actually be in up to 3 feet of water for 30 minutes and still come
No
out
kidding.
working perfectly fine. So I thought that was a really cool feature.
Okay.
It's 5.1-inch display. It has a super AMOLED display, and it is among the brightest on the market that we've
Really?
seen so far.
Okay.
So again, that is a great feature. Taking a lot of pictures, stuff like that. Well, this phone has a brand new 12-megapixel camera, and it's great in low light situations. It has an incredibly vibrant screen, so you can really capture a lot and see it too.
Okay.
It also is powered by a quad-core processor and 4 gigabytes of RAM.
Okay.
And it retails for $672.
Okay.
So expensive, but when it comes to phones, you might be looking kind of at the top, but it's still within a reasonable range.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the next one that we're breaking down is the HTC 10, is that right?
HTC 10, yes.
Okay.
So that is slightly more bulky than the Galaxy S7, but overall it's pretty similar in shape. It's a little bigger, as I said, 5.2-inch Super LCD 5 display.
Okay.
Not as bright as the Galaxy, and but camera has very similar camera, 12-megapixel rear camera. Similarly, produces great images, however, doesn't do as well in low light shots or
Okay.
shots with too much movement. So has the same quad-core processor as the Galaxy, but overall it's a little bit cheaper. So
Okay.
this one's retailing for $648.
So not a huge price difference between
Not
the
a
two.
huge price difference. Yeah, but I think as we're looking at comparing them phone to phone, seems like the Galaxy might have a
Might
little
have an edge to it,
edge.
no pun intended. Yeah. Last but not least, the LG G5. Now, LG is a brand that I recognize very well. A lot of people
Yep.
recognize for consumer electronics.
Tons of people. I mean, that's where a lot of people are buying their TVs, lots of stuff. And so, them being in the phone market, people recognize them there, and they have for a long time. So I think people trust the LG. And, this phone is really similar to the other phones. It's got a similar body, but there is something unique about this phone. And that actually is that there is no, if you can see right here, there's no home button on the front panel. It's actually on the back of the phone, which is really interesting. Another unique piece of this phone is that it's been designed as a modular handset, which actually means that you can remove the bottom of the phone and do things like change out the battery or add a camera or speaker extensions to the phone.
Really?
So that is
Okay.
very unique for phones.
Yeah.
We haven't seen too many phones come out with something like that. It's a little bit larger, has a 5.3-inch panel, a little bit more dim than both the other two phones, so
Okay.
that's something to think about. But it also has a unique camera. It actually has 2 separate lenses, one 16 megapixel, so that's pretty impressive for kind of close-up shots. And then it has another one for these larger panoramic shots that's 8 megapixel. So that's interesting if you really like playing around with your camera and
Right.
taking different pictures. You get to experiment a little bit with this. There's the option to add different things to the phone. But has, again, same processor, same storage as the other two. That's an area where I think all phones kind of just feel like they have
Sure.
to compete. It has a slightly smaller battery, but again, you can replace the battery.
Yeah, the fact that it's modular.
Exactly. So that's
potentially
really
take care of
big for the phone. And this one is actually the cheapest of the three,
Really?
running in at $624.
I would think that with those the modularity of it, that might
Right.
increase the price point.
Exactly.
So obviously, a lot of different pros, cons. Nika, if you were out shopping today, which three would out of those, which would you choose?
I knew you were going to ask me that. It's a tough choice. It really is.
Yeah.
The Samsung Galaxy S7 is a beautiful phone. People love it. I have just read raving reviews about that phone. But at the same time, I am the type of person that I am recharging my battery multiple times a day. If I don't have some sort of external battery pack or something, I'll be dead halfway through the day.
Really?
So
Okay.
for me, the LG might really make sense, but I don't know, that Samsung is pretty beautiful.
Yeah, but
so.
that's interesting. You bring up a good point that it really depends on what you're using it for. I mean,
does.
if photography is a major thing, if you want something that you want to get those low light photos in that's got a better, sensitivity to low light, sounds like the Galaxy S7 is probably the way to go. But
Exactly.
if you're burning through a battery, you want to change some things out, the LG might be the way to go.
Exactly.
Lots of stuff to think about here, Nika. Thanks for bringing this in.
Definitely.
Again, guys, if you want to recap on this about the best Android phone for your buck, just head over to casa.com. For now, though, we're